my name is Tzayla, and this is the story behind Tug of War.
I'm in a game of tug of war. Let's see what's right and what I want. I know it's a bad idea, and the reward isn't worth the cost.
It all started after prom. A friend of mine, he texted me this long text message confessing his feelings to a mutual friend of ours, and he asked me what he should do. Should he tell her or just let it go? And normally I'd tell him to go for it, but unfortunately this was a very complicated situation and it was a pretty bad idea, so I told him just to let it go. It was for the best. And he later admitted to me, though, that he texted me in hopes that I would talk him out of it because he also knew it was a bad idea. But the next day, I watched the two of them interact, and I could see this mixture of pain and hope in his eyes. I could tell that internally he was fighting a battle still, between his head and his heart, between whether doing something or not. And I felt very inspired. I realized this was something that a lot of people deal with, and it's a pretty common feeling and a quite complicated one as well. And so I decided to write a song about it. And that song was Tug of War. I know what you're thinking, Tzayla, that is such a boring story, it's so short too. But the story's not over, actually. Tug of War was not finished that day. Tug of War lived on my phone for weeks and was forgotten. And it wasn't until a few weeks later that I discovered it again. But before I continue the story, I would like to talk about the friend zone a little bit. Alright, so throughout my life, I've observed that there are only 3 ways to get out of the friend zone once you've been placed there. Keep in mind, I'm no expert. This is not something I've done a lot of research on. It's just something I've observed throughout my life. Number 1, a lot of time has passed. I'm talking 2 to 5 years. Once all this time has passed and you haven't interacted whatsoever, when you finally do interact, you have this little short reset period where you can either get placed back into the friend zone or find your way out of it. But you got to be careful. You got to play your cards quickly and carefully, because that reset period is not going to be very long. The second way is a drastic change has to occur in either your life or theirs. I'm talking like death in the family or something. Like a real big change has to occur. And lastly, you have to wait for one of those ever-elusive romantic moments that people generally associate with movies, like moonlight walks or dances. Okay? With all of that in mind, and without giving away too many details, one of these 3 things happened to me and a different friend of mine. Soon, I was questioning whether or not I wanted him to be just a friend or something more. My head and my heart started battling away because I knew it was a bad idea to do anything about this. Because, well, for starters, we were going into a different stage in our life and we were walking towards 2 completely different worlds. I did not see any end in which this would end happily. I just knew it would end in heartbreak and put unnecessary strain on myself and my heart, and his as well. I thought it would waste everyone's time, and I knew it was a bad idea. But I really wanted to. Yeah, long story short, him and I have a very long history, and if you listen to my song, Who Am I to You, you might get a better perspective on what that history kind of looks like. Let's just say it was not the first time I questioned his residency in the friend zone, but my heart really wanted to do something, and my brain was like, you really should not do anything. And I did what any good songwriter does, and I wrote a song about it. But as I was writing the song, I was like, this sounds familiar. I feel like I've written a song about this before, have I not? And lo and behold, I found that note on my phone from prom night of the Tug of War song that I wrote about my friend and our other mutual friend. Now, some of the lyrics were pretty bad, I'm not gonna lie to you. It was very poorly written. That's probably why I lost my momentum so quickly. But I liked the melody. I really liked the melody, and I liked its overall message and concept. So I rewrote some of the lyrics, I rearranged parts of it, I added other sections, and soon enough I had the Tug of War song that you all know and love today, and I meant every single word I wrote. I look back and cringe a little bit, yes, but at the time when I wrote it, I meant every word I wrote. Actually, fun side note, the original song, like the music for the song, it was actually had a much more introspective and calm beat to it, and then I played it for my dad though, and he was like, that's really boring, and so he told me how to redo it, and that's why it has that indie rock vibe now, and I prefer it so much better. That's one of my favorite songs, Tug of War, but yeah, my dad was like, that's boring, fix it. I did have fun with Tug of War. If you listen to the end of the song, you'll hear a phone buzz, like a notification buzz. And I thought it was a little funny because if you think about it, the whole song, I'm basically convincing myself that I shouldn't do anything. That's like, I'm talking myself out of it, I'm not going to do anything. But then you hear the phone buzz at the end of the song, and I like to think that I'm in the studio and I'm like, not doing anything, telling myself, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But then I get I get a text message, and it's from the guy I'm singing about. And you are left to wonder, what does she do? Does she text him back? What is she gonna do? Is she gonna tell him? What? And I thought it was a little fun little anecdote to put at the end. But I also thought maybe I could trick a few of you into thinking that the person you're waiting to text you finally texted you back, and maybe help you realize you were in a tug of war yourself. So, you're welcome. So for the album cover, my sister had this really cool concept. She wanted me falling into lava or falling into water, like one or the other, which we could do in post-production. But I would have to actually be falling in a picture in order to add the water and lava at the end. So what she did was she got a ladder and a mattress, and she stood on the ladder and had me fall repeatedly on this mattress, which by the way was very thin, and I fell at least 100 times that day. And oh my gosh, I had a headache for the rest of the day, and there was a bruise on my back. You want to know why? I'll tell you. She wanted me in a flowy white dress. Beautiful concept. I love the idea. We did not have a white dress. We could not find a white dress that fit our needs. So what we ended up doing was getting a white bed sheet and tying it in the back and using some safety pins to like hold it up in certain places. So every time I fell, I was falling on that knot on my back, and that's why I got the bruise. And it was probably one of my more painful album cover shoots. I think Wolves is also very painful though. So, but yeah. Well, it turned out great. I guess that's all that matters. But we were going to edit the photos, and we realized we liked the white background a lot better than if we added the lava and the water. You saw it would detract from the picture itself. And I'm happy with the result. So that was the story behind Tug of War. It started with my friend's emotional battle and ended with one of my own. Tug of War is available on all major streaming platforms, as well as the rest of my music. And if you have any more questions about me or my other songs, feel free to leave it in the comments or DM me on Instagram at tzayla.official. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and follow me on social media. I release new content every day and new music every month. See you next time.
'Cause a part of me wants to be more than we already are. A part of me will always keep you safely inside my heart in a game of tug of war.
In case you're wondering, I never told him how I felt. My brain went in the end. Yeah, I guess I do still wonder what would have happened if I had told him. But life took us, as I predicted, in two completely different directions, and I haven't heard from him in a very long time, so I think I made the right choice.